Guten Tag, mein Freunds! Das Maschine ist sehr wirksam und das ist the PFAFF 230. What the heck did I just say? Well, I said good day to all of you, my friends. This is a very strong machine and it's a PFAFF 230. 230 really is what I said, 230. And this particular machine came from Denis and Sue all the way out in Manchester, New Hampshire. I love polka music, I don't know about you. I'm reluctant to stop it, but I'm going to. And obviously whenever we think of Germany, at least when I think of Germany, the time I spent there, I think of polka music. Such a wonderful beat and so easy to dance to. Anyone can dance polka. And real nice note here that these folks sent me. They said, thank you for taking the challenge of fixing our heirloom sewing machine. It means a great deal to us. My son Dennis will stay in contact with you. We really hope you can make it happen. Well, I made it happen. And it needed quite a bit of attention, quite a bit of care, quite a bit of TLC. It needed some parts as well. And but all in all, this PFAFF 230 is now ready to get the job done, ready to get back to New Hampshire, ready to fall back into the graces of this great family and to be counted among their heirloom possessions. And I think it's rightly named. The 230 is a fantastic model. It's got incredible burst, incredible power, incredible versatility. And also, it's got those wonderful cleated belts. And if you're not familiar with the 230, I'll kind of zoom in on it a little bit. Yeah, right about there should be pretty good, I think. And what I'm going to show you is pleated belt, and this particular machine comes with 2 of these pleated belts. There's over 80 teeth on each one of these belts that goes in conjunction with the balance wheel coming off the main shaft and gives incredible traction and drive and positive burst to this machine. And there's a number of the other PFAFF machines that come equipped as well with these incredible cleated belts, which are really hard to come by. And that's one of the items that had to be replaced on this 230. So, but it is an excellent machine, and fairly easy layout too. I mean, we've got on the bottom there that little white knob that's going to let you drop the feed dogs, our little button there for the lights that you may or may not have seen me push when we kind of launched into this premiere. Here we've got everything from stitch length to reverse on that controller. And then we can access a number of the other cam functions of this machine, which is not going to be the focus of this premiere, through these other knobs. This one right here is going to be a basic knob that allows you to go from straight to zigzag, change needle position, and then, like I said, some of these other are cam controlling knobs. This little knob right here you see is going to let you lower down the light so you can change out the bulb. And that's the basic lay of the land. In here we can access some of the cam settings again. That's not going to be my focus in this premiere. So it really is the 230. I know a lot of other people have a fondness for the 332, and there's just a wide spectrum of machines that PFAFF put out that really, I mean, they pretty much answer any sewing need someone's going to have, whether it's super heavy duty, whether it's decorative sewing, whether it's control over that foot controller so you can really regulate the speed. You've got pretty much anything you want with this wonderful German engineering. PFAFF is one of my favorite brands, I would say, just because they really are, we're of the same kindred heart, where they really felt that engineering and building quality for a lifetime into a machine was not something to, to brag about. It was something to be expected. And so even though this PFAFF 230 that came from Denis and Sue out in Manchester, New Hampshire, needed a lot of help, it's built in such a way that it's got the capacity to do that. Other machines these days, when they get to that point of needing that degree of help, they're pretty much predisposed to being a disposable machine. Not so with these PFAFF machines. And if any of you are really bickering out there behind the camera, if you will, on this premiere and saying, why isn't he saying FAFF? Why isn't he saying FAFF? Well, it's because I genuinely believe that this brand is pronounced PFAFF. Having lived in Germany, having talked to a number of German people over the years, we all agree that this is a PFAFF, not a FAFF. Now, if you want to do an Aflac commercial, Aflac, then knock yourself out and you can do it all day long. But on my channel, with Denis and Sue's machine, this is a PFAFF 230, a PFAFF 230. All right, blah, 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 blah. All right, so I'm going to head towards the needle. And I should point out that this machine is not designed to be a pretty machine. I still think it's a gorgeous machine, don't get me wrong. I think it's Heirlome. But it doesn't have the sparkle and the pizzazz that you see on a lot of the black singers, where it's high gloss, it's just popping, and it's got all the filigree and decorative work, and woo-woo! This is a plain Jane, let's get it done type machine, and that's fantastic. So I'm going to head down towards the needle, slow but sure. And we're going to put this workhorse to work. I'm going to get a quick drink, a little water too. My throat's a little bit dry today. So how are you folks doing? You hanging in there with this Corona craze and all that kind of stuff? Hopefully you're staying healthy, and you're being wise without being manic about everything. And slow but sure, day by day, week by week, we will get through this, and all will be well. All will be well, I promise you. All right, so what I'm going to focus on with this PFAFF 230, this PFAFF 230, is I'm going to focus a lot on leather sewing, and I'm also going to do some of the nylon webbing, and we're just gonna lay some stitches down. I don't have a big plan in place. This premiere kind of came up quick, and that's fine. And so what I want to do is just give Denis and the good folks out in Manchester, New Hampshire, the opportunity to see this machine that was dead, resurrected. Excuse me. Entschuldigen Sie bitte. Entschuldigen Sie bitte is excuse me please in German. Just give them an opportunity to see this wonderful heirloom machine get the job done again, just as it had in the past. So we'll start with a basic straight stitch. We're going to be doing 2 layers of this protected full grain leather. This is a real beige color. Wait, I'm mistaken. I'm sorry. This is genuine cowhide. This is not protected full grain leather. My apologies. So I'm going to lay down a straight stitch on this genuine cowhide, and then we're going to jump in and probably lay down a zigzag next to it. That's kind of my plan. And in between, who knows, maybe I'll throw a little bit of polka music on. I know a lot of folks around the world enjoy polka, and I'm one of them. So kind of like the people that declare this machine as a PFAFF, if you hate polka music, well, then you can just turn the volume down and watch. Okay? All right, so here goes the straight stitch. 2 layers of genuine cowhide. We're probably talking about 8 to 10 ounces of genuine leather. No easy task. Not even for a PFAFF 500 30. So here we go. One more quick drink of water first. All right. And listen to the machine. That's why I don't have any music playing. All right, here we go. Once I get my foot on the foot control, that is. Well, I don't know what you can hear, but I hear a machine running just as smooth as silk. As smooth as silk. Unfortunately, I have a thread on the machine. That's probably going to give us a little bit of a challenge in seeing some of the stitching depending on the color of the leather. I seem to do that, don't I? Between the reds and the greens, they're all from that. And I'm not an artist. I don't have any Bob Ross running through my veins at all, unfortunately. But I can tell you this, that when it comes to colors and the scheme of things and getting things to present well on camera, there's a little bit of a science to it. And I don't think I've perfected that science yet. So now I'm going to lay down a zigzag next to this. Again, we're incorporating needle swing now, so we will see if the machine struggles at all, if you hear any labor on the part of the machine, or if it does just as easy of a job in laying down the stitching as it did with that first stitch row of straight stitching. All right? Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. I didn't hear any labor at all. We're not talking we're sewing light cotton here, folks. We're not sewing light cotton. We're sewing about 10 ounces of genuine cowhide here with this PFAFF 500 30, and it is getting the job done just ridiculously easy. And I do see that on my lock stitch, I would have to bring this upper tension up just slightly. The stitching looks good. It looks okay. Just like this is our top stitch now. Just like our initial stitch on the bottom, our straight stitch, which again, because of the color, is a little bit hard to see. But again, you can see that top row we just did with that zigzag. It's absolutely spot on. But as we turn it over, and again, you can look at the thickness of that. As we turn it over, I do note that while the stitching is okay, the definition of that lock stitch could be a little bit more pronounced. And so I would increase that upper tension just slightly, and it would define that stitch a little bit better, just to give a real nice balance between what is our lock stitch and what is our top stitch. As a matter of fact, as I like to do, because this is a classroom, we'll go ahead and make just a real subtle adjustment to that upper tension, and I'll lay down one more row. Since I've got room anyway, I'll lay down one more row of a zigzag, and then we'll move on to the next sew off, okay? All right, so here we go. We're gonna do one more row of zigzag, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get that lock stitch just to pop a little bit more, okay? All right, here we go. It just does it so daggone easy. It just does it so easily. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I could tell you this, well, Dennis and Sue could tell you as well. The machine did not sew like this when it was out in New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire, nor did it sew like this when it first arrived at the workshop. Okay, so let's first of all, yeah, this is our top row is the one we just did now. So you can see, excuse me, you can see our top row with our top stitch is just as defined and just as beautiful as the row below it that we did first. Can you see that? But what we did again is off camera, I increased that upper tension just slightly so that we could, let me flip this around a little bit, so that we could try to define that lock stitch just a little bit more. And it looks like we definitely succeeded. I got a little bit of a weird tough thing going on the end over there. Was ist los? Was ist los is what is happening in German. So our original straight stitch row right there, our first attempt at the zigzag, again this is our lock stitch on the back here, and then our second lock stitch on top here where we increase that upper tension a little bit to pop that zigzag lock stitch a little bit more, and that's exactly what we did. I could probably go up even a little bit more, but that's a real good balance that we have right now, particularly when you compare it to that lower row and the upper row that we did second. So again, some problems are very easy to fix, and as you move from different types of material, different densities of material, different thicknesses of material, different layers of material, multiple layers of material, you sometimes have to tweak. You sometimes have to tweak that upper tension just a little bit to get that perfect stitch outcome that you're aiming for. So again, definitely a thumbs up on these 2 layers of genuine cowhide. I'm going to throw that to the rear. And of course we have to take just a little bit of a polka break while I get a drink of water. Oh yeah. It's hard to drink and dance. It's hard to drink and dance, but I'm somehow doing it. Ah. Das Wasser? Sehr gut, sehr gut. This water, very good. All right, folks, this is my official union break, so I'm going to take full advantage of it. All right, my break's over. Daggone it. Well, what can you do, huh? I got to keep my nose to the grindstone. Got a lot of machines to take care of, which is a wonderful blessing. Very grateful for that. Okay, so now, why don't we slide away from leather for a moment? Oh heck, why don't we'll do one more leather sew-off. Actually, a couple more leather sew-offs. I meant we'll do a leather sew-off and then we'll kind of switch off to nylon webbing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a zigzag down this genuine elk hide. And then what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to fold this elk hide, and then we're going to do 2 layers of the elk hide going down the other side. All right? All right, so here we go. 1 layer, kind of almost a joke for this this PFAFF 530, but what the heck, we'll kind of build up a little bit of momentum, okay? All right, so here goes a single layer of genuine elk hide. Wow. Wow. That was That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. All right, what kind of little twisty thing do I have going on here? This is weird. I had a funny little loop on the thread. That was really odd. Must be the way I wound the bobbin or something. All right, we got it back now. Okay, let me clip these threads and then we will go on and do two layers of this alkyd, laying down also a zigzag. And again, I want to emphasize, as soon as you move to needle swing, it's a beautiful stitch, isn't it? Can you see that? A little bit hard to see, but absolutely the spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch through a single layer of alkyd is absolutely spot on. And as we turn it over, it's tough to see on that nap, but that's also a beautiful stitch as well. So let me do this now. Let me fold this over. Depending on how I fold it, I'm going to have a real tight space to work with, but that's okay. Okay, so now we're raising the ante, and we're going up to 2 layers of this genuine alkyd, and I'm going to get it underneath the presser foot, and then try to sew as straight as I can. You already know I'm not known for being the straightest sewer in the world, but I'll give it my best. Okay, so I'm going to try to hold back the power on this this PFAFF 230 a little bit, and see if I can lay down a fairly straight row on the zigzag going down this inside corner, which, by the way, you go through this inside corner because there's really kind of a resistance. It's popping up. It's you know, it isn't compressed down, so it's kind of springing up against the needle. We're really going to have to really kind of focus our sewing effort so we get a good outcome. All right, so here we go. Oh, let me get my take-up arm up. And see how straight Scott can sew today. All right, here we go. Yeah, I wouldn't say that was brag-worthy straight, but not horrible. Not horrible. Okay. Bear with me for a second, folks. Oh yeah. Now this is under polka, but this almost seems like you're down on the border of Mexico or something, doesn't it? Beautiful stitching. So this bottom row is the first row that we did. And then we have this upper row that we just laid down kind of against that buckle point on the leather. And even with that buckle point, we got incredible stitch quality, stitch formation, stitch presentation. If I turn it around, and of course now since we did the second layer, you're only going to see that one layer we just did. Beautiful stitching all the way across. The spacing, the formation, absolutely spot on. And again, just to remind you, there's what we sewed. 2 layers of genuine alkyd, which is chemically processed. So we're talking probably 10 ounces of leather, and it's the thick of thick because of that chemical processing. So definitely a thumbs up for this this PFAFF 230 on this genuine alkyd sew-off. I'm going to throw that to the back. And I'll take advantage of another union break to get a little drink of water. Ah, opa! All right, if your foot isn't tapping, come on, get your foot tapping. How can you not tap your foot to this, for goodness sakes? All right, I think my break is over. Yeah, doggone it. Oh well, that's okay. So we got about 3 more sew-offs, and as I alluded to, now we're going to shift over to some nylon webbing. Nylon webbing is super tough stuff, and as I've said in previous premieres, this stuff is used to tow cars. As a matter of fact, you can see the dirt down here and the dirt up there. This was used at some point to tow one of my cars that needed to get to a point where it could get the help that it needed. And we're not going to go through a single layer of this stuff. We're going to go through 2 layers. So again, with this being rated just as a single layer at about 2,000 pounds tensile strength, we're looking at almost 4,000 pounds tensile strength when we fold it in half like this. Again, you can look at it from the side yourself. No easy task at all. So I'm going to slide it underneath the presser foot, and let's see how this PFAFF 500 Dreisig 230 does with a task as difficult as this. And I'm going to sew right over the top of that dirt, because this is a get down, nitty gritty type machine. It's not a prim and proper type machine that's going to have a cup of tea. Nothing against my friends in the United Kingdom. It just wants to roll up its sleeves and get dirty. So we're going to do that. So here again, there's 2 layers of this nylon webbing. All right, here we go. Way, 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 way too easy. Way too easy. And I think probably sticking with a zigzag, I can do another type of zigzag maybe on this or something, is probably the best bet for you to be able to see any of the stitching at all. I don't know why I picked this cool, kind of this aqua green. I know why I picked it, because I really love aqua green. This aqua type green is just beautiful. So there's our top stitch. And that's going to be the zigzag that we just laid down. Absolutely spot on in every respect. The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch is exactly what we want to be seeing. And again, as I kind of turn it this way so you can kind of look at the thickness of what 2 layers of this looks like, you can be like, holy mackerel. Because it really is a holy mackerel when you talk about going through 2 layers of this nylon webbing. Combined tensile strength of about 4,000 pounds. And now we're looking at our lock stitch. You know what? There's nothing different. The integrity of the stitch, the spacing, the formation, the presentation of that stitch is exactly as it should be. So let me do this now. Let me lay down another stitch next to it. I think we'll stick with a zigzag just so we have the ability to see it on this material. And what I'll do is I'll just modify the zigzag a little bit. I think I'll go ahead and, let's see, I think I'll mess with the stitch width just slightly, shorten it up a little bit, and I'll do the same thing with the stitch length, just to give us a slightly different visual on the zigzag. Okay? Alright, so here we go. And what I did on the controls, if you're curious, is I went from a 4 down to 2 on the width, and I went down from a 5 on the stitch length down to right around just above 3. So it's going to present differently, and that's okay. So here we go. Again, 2 layers of this nylon webbing. And here we go. All I can say is that smoother than silk. Absolutely smoother than silk. Amazing how well this runs. Now. Gotta emphasize the now. Yeah, you can noticeably and visibly see right away the difference between these two zigzags by us tweaking the stitch width and stitch length. It's apparent. So the first row we did again is the top row up here, and again our settings were max on the stitch widths, max on the stitch length, and then we backed it up down here to what did I say? We backed it up to about a 2 on stitch width and down to just above 3 on stitch length. So you can see right away, I kind of like it. It's got almost like a little mountain look to it when you shorten it up like that on both of those. And again, the presentation of the stitch, even though it's obviously different, is absolutely as it should be. And again, as I turn it like this, look at what we just went through. 2 layers of genuine nylon webbing. I'm so used to saying genuine alkyd nylon webbing. And now we're turning it over, and we're going to look at the lock stitch. This is obviously the first row we did here on the bottom, and we already saw that. Now we're looking at the lock stitch on this top row. And I'm not using a needle that is designed for woven type material. I could probably get even better stitch presentation if I did that. But again, you already know I'm not a big needle guy. I'm a machine engineering guy. I maximize the machine, and then once that owner gets it, if they want to mess around with different threads, different needles, and different presser feet and all that, they can always do that. But my goal is just to maximize and optimize and get that machine running better than when it left the factory in Germany. And this machine is running absolutely tip-top in every respect. Gorgeous, gorgeous stitching. So definitely a pass on the 2 layers of nylon webbing as well. I'm going to throw that to the back also. So we're basically down to 2 sew-offs now. I've got protected full-grain leather. Actually, both of these are protected full-grain leather. I'm trying to see, or is that an Italian leather? I believe this white one is actually Italian leather. And what I'm going to do with this Italian leather is I'm actually going to, and we had trouble seeing it on that lighter material, didn't we? I'm trying to see. Yeah, it was a little bit hard to see with a straight stitch. So I think we're going to zigzag it around. Let me zigzag it around, okay? Let's zigzag it around. And we're just going to do a single layer of this. Again, I want to let you listen to the machine. I want you to hear and see the maneuverability of the machine. We're just going to go around and box it out. We're going to come straight down. It's a real nice long run. We're going to come around there. We're going to come back up. And then our final sew off will be protected full grain leather. This again, I believe, is Italian leather. And Italian leather is some really tough stuff to get through if you're not familiar with that type of leather. All right, how about a quick little union break for Scott? Is that okay? I'm hoping I get a union break. I don't like this. Yeah. You know, if you don't have a sousaphone or a tuba in the band when you're doing polka music, it just doesn't feel like genuine polka music, does it? All right. I've got the volume far enough down. I'm going to totally irritate those of you that don't like music playing at all. And I'm going to buzz down and do this. You've heard the machine running a lot already. I'm going to enjoy my music, doggone it. All right, let me get that take-up arm up. And here we go. Whoopah! So you can hear the machine. I got the volume down on this one. Yay. Should I close the box? Nah. Let's be rebels. Do not close the box, Scott. Do not close the box. So if you're one of those people that fusses over me saying PFAFF versus PFAFF, and you want the box closed, and you don't want any music playing when we're sewing, boy, did I just irritate you, didn't I? I'm waiting for a thumbs down any second. I'm gonna get coughing here. I better stop. Oh, that's so funny. All right, let's do this. Oh yeah, beautiful stitching, beautiful stitching. So this is obviously our top stitch. I'm gonna have to kind of hold it like this. Gorgeous stitching all the way across, even with my little awkward turns. And we're going to turn it over now. Look at that lock stitch. A little bit hard to see. I'm going to kind of flip it around this way so we can see it hopefully a little bit easier. But I can tell you right now, sitting at the workbench, it's an absolutely spot-on lock stitch in every respect. The spacing, the formation, integrity, the pop factor, exactly what we want to be seeing. So this single layer of Italian leather, just to show a little bit of the maneuverability and being able to harness the power of this, and I didn't even mention it, being able to harness the power of this 1.1 amp motor. It really evidences that beautifully with this sew-off. And I could try laying down a straight stitch down the middle just so that you could see how that presents as well. And if you hear a dog in the background, yep, that's Hank. It's probably somebody delivering a sewing machine, and he is not happy about it in the least. So I'm going to take us back to a straight stitch, and we'll see how this machine, or I should say, we'll see how this thread presents on this Italian leather. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, I think, but here we go, right down the middle. Yeah, that's going to be really tough to see on this color leather, unfortunately. But that's okay. All right, give that a clip. So I would have to really pull it back. It's going to be virtually, even if I do it that way, yeah, it's going to be virtually impossible to see it. I can see it from my distance, and maybe if I kind of go on an angle like this. Trying to see if I can get it on the right type of angle where you might be able to see the stitching just a little bit better on that straight stitch we just laid down in the middle. I can see it, at least from my vantage point, but you may not be able to. So that's a beautiful, beautiful straight stitch as well, and obviously there's no difference on the back with that lock stitch. For that straight stitch we just kind of laid down in the middle of this Italian leather. So I'm going to throw that to the back. That's definitely a pass as well. Our final sew-off is going to be 2 layers of protected full grain leather. And you can kind of see that from the side. We're looking at, again, about 8 to 10 ounces of leather. No easy task, especially when you're talking protected full grain leather. And I think we might as well lay down a zigzag going down this so that you can kind of see that stitch. You have better visibility of the stitch than if we try to go straight again. So let me switch us back to a zigzag. And we'll get this final sew-off done. And again, I just can't say enough. I'm so impressed with Denis's and Sue's PFAFF 230 530. It really is just a superb machine, and again, a machine that needed to be resurrected, but was able to be resurrected, unlike, again, the more contemporary machines where once they're down and out, they're down and out. And that, again, is the beauty of vintage machines, is generally if you've got the knowledge and you've got access to the parts, you can take a dead machine and make it alive again. So really, this is a lot of fun to do this premiere because I know where this machine was at and I can see where it is now, and that's some good stuff, some real good stuff. All right, blah, 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 blah. So here I go down 2 layers of protected full grain leather with a zigzag. Here we go. Try to give myself enough turning space here. All right. For my box closing, friends, see if I can do that. And it's probably not a perfect box closing, but it's close. It's close. All right, let me get my thread back there. We'll go ahead and look at this final sew-off. And I'll tell you one thing, if you use a turquoise type thread, you definitely want to consider using a charcoal protected full grain leather, because these stitches really present well on this material, don't they? So this is our top stitch, obviously, and you can see with your own eyes the spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch is exactly as we want it to be, exactly as we want it to be in every respect. Absolutely spot on. I'll go back one more time so you can kind of see it. And as I turn it over, look at the thickness of that we just went through. Again, I get contacted all the time by people that have various machines, and machines that I know should be capable of doing 2 layers of protected full grain leather like this, and they will have difficulty getting through a single layer. I mean, a lot of difficulty getting through a single layer. And you were able to hear with your own ears how easily this PFAFF 530 got the job done. There wasn't even an effort. We could have doubled this and probably did as many as 4 layers, and it still would have gotten the job done with absolute ease. And as I turn it over, there's our lock stitch, which is pretty daggone hard to see, But again, the presentation of that stitch, the formation, the integrity of the stitch is exactly as it should be. So I'll tell you one thing, whether it's the 2 layers of protected full grain leather, I'll kind of widen my shot just a little bit here. And since I'm not sewing right now, guess what I'm going to do? Yep, you guessed it. Holy cow. I'm not making it up. This is a polka song by the United States Marine Corps. Crazy. Okay, what I started to say is whether it's 2 layers of protected full grain leather right here that you just saw, or this single layer of Italian leather, or these 2 layers of nylon webbing, or these 2 layers of genuine elk hide. Trying to see which way I have that flipped. Or these 2 layers of genuine cowhide. This PFAFF 530 got the job done so easily. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It sounds nothing like a polka song. I mean, you think the Marine Corps got it wrong? I doubt it. Must be the way the song is written. Let's come off the tripod. I'm gonna get over by this stitching a little bit closer. Plus then I'll show you the quick threading of this machine as well, just so you know. And because of the way this machine is set up, I can tell you that the flat side... Alright, I'm gonna cut this off. I love you, Marine Corps. Alright. I love the United States Marine Corps, but that song is just a little bit too edgy while I'm trying to talk. So what I was saying is because of the way this Model 230 is set up, the one thing I can do this in order. I'll do it in order instead. Let me not focus on these sew-offs. We'll focus on the threading first. So you're coming off the back right here. You've got a single thread guide right here. You come through there. Come across the top through that thread guide, and obviously you've got the 2 thread guides because this machine has the capacity for dual needle sewing, right? And you're coming across the front, another thread guide right here. You're going to be going through, you know, you could go through either one, you could go through both, but I would recommend going through that distant hole, and then you line up with that tension control just a little bit better. Can you kind of see that? So there's less resistance, there's less drag on that thread coming off the top of the machine. You then come through the tension discs. You have to come underneath that spring, up to the take-up arm, down, and here you got a thread guide right here. And then you're coming over the top of this. I got a note one time from someone that actually pried this away from the machine and tried to feed the thread underneath that. That's meant simply as a buffer. Don't bend it away from the machine, please. So you're coming through here over the top of that, and then down here you've got another thread guide. You can kind of see that right there. You've got another thread guide center mass right on the needle, just above the needle there, and then you thread the machine from front to back, and obviously the flat side of the needle is going to go to the rear of the machine because of the way the raceway is set up. Okay, so now let's look at the stitching. Just kind of adjusting the camera a little bit. So this is the last sew off we did right here. This is our protected full grain leather. And you've already seen the other sides of these, so I'm not going to flip them again. But absolutely spot on as far as the integrity of the stitch, just the overall stitch presentation. 2 layers of protected full grain leather. Then we've got a single layer of Italian leather here where we did the straight stitch down the middle, which again is nearly impossible. I'm going to blur out now. It's just like nearly impossible for the camera to pick it up. Yeah, it's not going to pick it up. Doggone it. But the stitch presentation, the integrity of the stitch, stitch spacing, etc., absolutely spot on. And again, my goal with this stitch off was just to show you the maneuverability of the machine. It is a workhorse. It can blast, but you can also harness that power as well. And now we've got the 2 layers of this nylon webbing. And again, we did 2 different types of zigzags, one a little bit wider, one a little bit tighter. And it did just an absolutely spectacular job on that as well, amid the dirt, obviously. And then we've got our 2 layers of genuine elk hide, and we actually did a single layer, then we kind of folded it, and then we did a double layer, 2 layers of this. Again, each one of these leather sew-offs is right around 8 to 12 ounces of leather, and it's absolutely spot on in every respect. And then last but not least, because we actually did it first, we have this genuine cowhide, and we did an absolutely spectacular job. Combination of zigzag and straight stitch. And again, the straight stitch is really tough to see. Unless I kind of do that a little bit, maybe it makes it a little bit easier. Yeah, it makes it a little bit easier. Not much easier, a little bit easier. You know, when you're trying to see it, kind of like this Italian leather. I don't know if I cheat and try to put it on the side a little bit. Yeah, that does help. That does help, doesn't it? When you look at it from the edge like this, kind of tilt the leather a little bit, you can see that stitching easier than when you're looking straight down on it. So, at any rate, incredible success with this PFAFF 530, this PFAFF 230. Came here with so many needs, so many challenges, but you know what? This workshop is a place of dreams, and dreams come true. And I know that Dennis and Sue and the other family members that really look at this machine and they go, you know what? This is a very special machine to our family, as she said in her note. They've got their heirloom back, and it's going to be working beautifully for them. So that's cool. That's really, really cool. So hope all of you again are staying healthy, and appreciate you tuning into this premiere, and hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more. If you've never seen a PFAFF 230 on this channel before, you have now. And again, those just the engineering of these machines really is one of my favorite things about them. They're just made to last for a lifetime, and sometimes they need a little help, sometimes they need a lot of help, but that's why we're here, is to help, right? All right, well, God bless you guys, and stay safe, stay calm, and Dr. Singer is just totally chilling back there. All right, we'll see you folks. Take care. Bye.